Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. I am your host, Javon Harrington, back to hit you with another video, and today we are going to be continuing Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Part 5, based on the heroes of the Morphing Grid series. As always, if you're a fan of the channel and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell from post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcasting stats to come out now and in the future. Where we last left off with our series, the 5 great ninja villages now find themselves under attack. Orochimaru, now back in the folds of the Akatsuki, as they look to make a desperate push to capture the 5 remaining tailed beasts, launch an all-out assault on each nation at the same time. However, with the Power Rangers now on the scene backing them up, how will the battles fare all across the ninja world? What will the masked man's plans be as he moves forward in his attempts to capture all of the tailed beasts? And what will the fate of the world be in general when the Rangers meet together once again? For all this and more, stay tuned as we now continue Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Part 5. As always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Each village would be on high alert as a simultaneous attack was taking place all across the ninja world. In each village, it seemed as though Orochimaru had used his version of the Edo Tensei to bring back a powerful Kage and shinobi from the past in order to capture the Jinchuriki and defeat the Rangers once and for all. One thing to keep in mind with this version of Edo Tensei is that this would not be the same version that you see in the original Naruto timeline, the one used by Kabuto during the events of the Fourth Great Ninja War. Instead, this would still be the version of Edo Tensei that Orochimaru was using when he fought against the Third Hokage during the events of the Konoha Crush arc. That being that his Edo Tenseis, while powerful, would not be as strong as they would later on go on to be. For the most part, each Edo Tensei that was brought back was at most 20% of what they used to be. Still formidable, especially for the former Kages, but still not to the ridiculous degree that defeating them would necessarily be impossible. In the Hidden Sand Village, Gaara, who still had the One-Tails, would make his way with his sister Temari, as she morphed into the Yellow Ninja Storm Ranger, the two of them coming face to face with Sasori of the Red Sand, as well as their father, the former 4th Kazekage, in Rasa. As they prepared to do battle, so too in the Stone Village, as the 2nd Tsuchikage Mu, as well as his resurrected partner Deidara, would do battle with the Noiki, the 3rd Tsuchikage, as well as Kurasuchi, the Crimson Thunderstorm Ranger, and also Roshi, who reluctantly joined them as he didn't have much of a choice in the matter, the Four-Tailed Jinchuriki. In the Hidden Mist Village, Gengetsu Hozuki, the former 2nd Mizukage, along with his partner, Edo Kisame, would engage in battle against the 5th Mizukage, Mei, along with Chojuro, the Navy Thunderstorm Ranger, as well as Suigetsu, who carried the 7 Swordsman Blade, the Executioner's Blade, and their Jinchuriki, the Six Tails, Utakata. In the Cloud Village, the third Raikage would do battle against his own son, the current fourth Raikage. The battle of the two A's, the third versus the fourth, as he had assistance from his brother and partner, Killer B, the Jinchuriki of the Eight Tails, as well as Killer B's student, the selected Blue Ninja Storm Ranger, Kaori, by his side. And finally, in the Hidden Leaf Village, the Six Paths of Pain, along with Orochimaru, as well as with Kabuto, they had summoned Hanzo, the Salamander, as well as Kimimaru, and the other members of the Sound Five, Orochimaru's former subordinates. Together, they would launch their attack on the Hidden Leaf Village in search of the Nine Tails. However, the Hidden Leaf would not be down, as they had powerful shinobi to counter, such as Tsunade, the fifth Hokage, Kakashi, the Black Ninja Storm Ranger Sasuke Uchiha, and the Green Ninja Storm Ranger in Cam. The village would take even more loss than it did in the original timeline, as there would not only be the Six Paths of Pain that would be attacking, but there would also be the assistance of Orochimaru as well, along with Kabuto, Hanzo the Salamander with his poison, as well as the Sound Five wreaking havoc. Shikamaru would lead a team to face against the Sound Five, the team consisting of himself, Choji, Neji, Kiba, Hinata, the members of the original Sasuke retrieval arc, although now Hinata was accompanying them, as they fought against the Edo Sound Five. Tsunade would send word, asking for the return of both Jiraiya and Naruto. However, just like within the original, Danzo would kill the messenger Toad, hoping to keep Naruto away from the battlefield. The fights that raged all over Konoha would be intense. While the enemy would have the upper hand, it would not be entirely. The presence of Sasuke and Cam, the Green and Black Ninja Storm Rangers respectively, would prove to be the major turn in the tide of battle, so much so that Pain focused his attentions on them. However, Sasuke, who was now feeding into his power, using the Mangekyo Sharingan, starting to learn and master his abilities in the midst of combat, was able to hold his own against them. Tsunade would come face to face with the Edo Hanzo once again. Each village would try to gather together a Sealing Corps team that would serve as aid to seal away the Edo shinobi who had been brought back. This was an all-out assault and planned by Orochimaru. He believed that with the combined power of the Akatsuki and his Edo Tensei, it would be enough to defeat the Rangers and capture the 5 remaining tailed beasts. As both Orochimaru and Tsunade would come to face once again, the two not having met one another since the events of the Tsunade retrieval arc. Tsunade would be disgusted at Orochimaru, ashamed that they were once former comrades, to see just how far and how low he would stoop in order to satisfy his own lustful urges. Orochimaru would rebuttal on the other hand, stating that in the end, life was meaningless, and the only thing that mattered was what one truly wanted. For Orochimaru, this was what he always wanted. Everything that he could be promised, that he could be given, would be within his fingertips. The only thing they had to do was capture the Jinchuriki, and that was easy enough for him. He asked for the whereabouts of Naruto and Jiraiya, but Tsunade would say nothing, as the Slug Princess and the Snake Sanin would engage with one another. Pain in the meanwhile would be running rampant through the village, trying to find any information that he could on the whereabouts of Naruto Uzumaki. The various paths of Pain, causing destruction all throughout the village. The Konoha shinobi were able to hold their own just fine, but still, much loss was taken on their side. As for the other rangers in the other nations, they too were struggling in their battles. Even for the former Kages, while they weren't as powerful as they would potentially be, their strength was still far and above anything else that the current Kages had ever seen. The third Raikage fought against the fourth Raikage, the two of them using their lightning cloaks to move at blinding speeds, speeds that only Karui and Killer Bee were able to match. As the blue Ninja Storm Ranger would unsheath her sword, she would use the lightning-style lightning cloak. Amped by the powers on the morphing grid, she would become a streak of blue as she and Killer Bee used their swords in tandem, fighting off against the third Raikage, whose own arms were like swords. But they created an opening just long enough for the fourth Raikage to try to blitz him and tackle him to the ground. In the Hidden Stone Village, the Crimson Thunder Ranger Kurasuchi would be chasing after Deidara, who was flying in the air, using his detonation jutsu, causing and raining down explosions from a distance, while Roshi and Inoki would have to work together to face off against Mu, the second Tsuchikage. In the Hidden Mist, they were having a bit of a tough time in their own right. Gengetsu and his Genjutsu was formidable, especially his giant clam that was producing a powerful Genjutsu that was hard for them to get through. Chojuro was even forced to summon his Megazord, that being the Navy Thunder Beetle, in order to be able to counter the large clam, while the Six Tails would aid the Mizukage in her fight against the former Mizukage. In the Sand Village, to say that the battle was emotional would be an understatement. Gaara facing off against his father once again, his father using his golden sand, while Gaara channeled the power of the One-Tails, while Tamari, in her Yellow Ranger form, would use her large fan and her mastery in Wind Jutsu to slice away at Sasori's various puppets. Sasori had gotten to the point where he even had to start using dead shinobi to fight against her. Although, even these proved to be futile, as Tamari's overall monstrous strength was something that he couldn't fully counter. In his current state, he didn't have any of his former puppets to really use, and as such, he found himself at a disadvantage. So his defeat, while it was arduous, would not take as long as one would expect. Ultimately, it was defeating Rasa that would prove to be their biggest difficulties. Back in the Hidden Leaf Village, the village found itself in ruin, fire and destruction brewing from every turn. Pain, now seeing that he wasn't getting much information that he needed, was looking to destroy the village that had caused his homeland so much harm. As he stood in the sky, he prepared to use the almighty push. However, before he could do so, there would be a large puff of smoke in the distance. On the Hokage Tower, specifically on the head of the fourth Hokage, there would stand Naruto in Sage Mode, along with Jiraiya, who had done his own training and become a perfect sage. The two looking, they could see the destruction brewing all around them. Jiraiya could instantly sense Tsunade, as well as Orochimaru. He told Naruto what was going on, and Naruto knew what he needed to do. With Naruto's morpher by his side, he would morph into the red Ninja Storm Ranger. Enhanced with Sage Mode, the color of his suit was a bright red, almost a tinge of orange within it, giving a hint of his Sage Mode status. The red Ninja Storm Ranger would move quickly through the village as he used the multi-shadow clone jutsu. Multiple shadow clones of the Red Ranger would suddenly appear. You see, with the aid of the morphing grid, Naruto wouldn't be limited in the number of shadow clones he could create. In normal circumstances, he would only be able to summon 3 more, as his clone limit was around 5 when he had Sage Mode. However, with the aid of using his Ranger power, that had been at least tripled. He could summon up to 12 clones now, and the 12 Narutos would move quickly through the village all at once, each one making their way towards where one of the paths of pain were, and they wasted no time in defeating them. The original Naruto would stand beside Sasuke and Cam, as well as Kakashi, as they had been fighting against the Deva Path. The Deva Path would retreat, as the Naraka Path would have to help reconstruct the other paths of pain that had been defeated. As they stood on the outskirts of the village, all 6 paths of pain gathered together, they looked to Naruto, as they could tell that he too had become a sage, similar to Jiraiya. Naruto stared back at the paths of pain, asking what they were doing here. But Pain, he made his goals rather simple. He had come for Naruto Uzumaki, the Nine Tails. In the meanwhile, Jiraiya, with Ma and Pato by his side, would join with Tsunade, kicking Orochimaru in the face as he went flying, Jiraiya in his sage cloak, and Orochimaru in his Akatsuki cloak. Orochimaru would be surprised to see that Jiraiya had finally become a perfect sage. It pissed him off a little bit. No, it pissed him off a lot. Jiraiya, the one who was always the goofball, the weak link of the Sannin in his opinion. Why had he become a perfect sage? Orochimaru spent his entire life trying to learn every jutsu in the world, to discover all of its secrets. But yet, while he was rejected at Ryuchi Cave, denied the ability to learn his Sage Mode, Jiraiya had gained it. Jiraiya the Sannin looked back at his former friend and comrade, and he looked at him with contempt. That look, that feeling of superiority, it pissed off Orochimaru to no end as he yelled, "And just what right do you have to look down upon me?" Orochimaru, this was your home, your village. You have betrayed that village. And now, you must suffer the consequences. As if your consequences mean anything to me, Jiraiya. I don't care anymore. You think having Sage Mode impresses me? It doesn't. It doesn't change anything between us. You are still the pathetic weakling you always were. You want to know why our master is dead? You want to know? Here's the truth, because just like you both have a weak heart. You can't do what needs to be done. 2 times he could have killed me. 2 times he could have took me out, but he didn't. Because he was bred from the same weak cloth like every pathetic shinobi in this village. To think, the Hidden Leaf, who have produced some of the most powerful shinobi, some of the strongest in all of history, including you and myself. But yet, unlike the shinobi of the past, you got soft. You have a conscience. What's the matter, Jiraiya? Are you too weak to kill me? Before Orochimaru could say any more, Jiraiya would move at blinding speeds, punching him straight in the face and knocking him to the ground. As Orochimaru stood back on his feet, he would launch a multitude of snakes toward Jiraiya. However, Jiraiya would create a large Sage Mode Rasengan and destroy them all. Jiraiya then looked back to Orochimaru with a serious expression on his face. You're right, Orochimaru. I was naive. And for that, I have paid a heavy price. But unlike you, I can correct my mistakes. And I start today by ending you. Orochimaru and Jiraiya would begin their battle. Naruto, with the aid of Kam, Sasuke, and Kakashi, would battle against the Six Paths of Pain. Pain was strong and formidable, and under normal circumstances you could say he had the advantage. However, in this instance, he would not. The combined power of the red, green, and black Ninja Storm Rangers would be too much for Pain to overcome, along with Kakashi backing them up. The Six Paths of Pain would be defeated one by one, until eventually none of them remained. Tsunade, with backup from the Sealing Corp, would go and defeat Hanzo the Salamander, sealing him away once and for all. Finally, the members of the Konoha 12 would defeat the Sound 5 once and for all, their powers having grown stronger since the last time they fought, and one by one, the members of the Sound 5 were sealed away. Eventually, Team Guy would return back to the village, that being Guy and Lee, and they too would aid in the relief effort, eventually resulting in the enemy being defeated. Orochimaru would be on the back burner of the fight. The more he tried, the more it seemed as though Jiraiya was able to counter him. Eventually, Jiraiya would unveil his strongest technique. While Naruto had created the Wind-style Rasengan, his Rasengan contained the fire. He called it the Rasen Nova. Orochimaru attempted to use his snake summoning Manda in order to cause as much destruction as possible. However, the toad summons of Mount Myaboku were able to put the snake in his place. As Jiraiya used the Rasen Nova, he burnt Orochimaru away, destroying him once and for all. Kabuto had no choice but to escape. The battle had not gone the way they had expected to at all. As he retreated, he got word from Zetsu of what was going on in the other nations. While they too were experiencing their own difficulties, one by one, the Edo Tensei that had been summoned were being sealed off, and it seemed as though they had failed. Once Naruto had defeated Pain, he would use the chakra rods, plunging one into his hand. He would use his Sage Mode to reverse track and find where the true Pain was. Once Jiraiya had defeated Orochimaru, he would be informed of what Naruto planned to do, and he would join him. Accompanied by Kakashi, as well as Kam and Sasuke, the group would make their way to Nagato's hideout, where both he and Konan were. There, both Naruto and Jiraiya would use Talk no Jutsu, as such causing Nagato to reflect on what he had done, and in his own way of regret and to make amends, he would use the Rene Rebirth, but not only on the Hidden Leaf, he would use it across all of the 5 great nations to bring back those who had been killed because of the Akatsuki's wrongdoing. And as such, this jutsu costed him his life. While Naruto and Jiraiya were pleased that Nagato had in the end been able to see the light in the error of his ways, all was not well. For out of nowhere, next to Nagato's body, Konan would look in horror, as everyone saw standing beside him was the man in the mask. As he looked to the group, he commended them. He never thought that they could convince Nagato to go back to their side. But still, all was not yet lost. The man introduced himself as Madara Uchiha. The hearing of that name sent shivers down all of their spines. He told them quite plainly that now it was time to take matters into his own hands. In time, he was going to return, and when he did, he would be taking all of the Jinchuriki with him, as he eyed Naruto. Sasuke would attempt to go in for a strike. However, the masked man, along with Nagato, would both disappear, swirling away into a void. The masked Madara took Nagato's body in order to receive the Rinnegan. Upon doing so, preparations needed to be made. There had been much loss on his side, and it seemed as though if he was going to get anything done, he was going to have to do it himself. As he looked through, he saw now that the Rangers were a threat that needed to be wiped out permanently. And that was something he would take care of in the future. In the meanwhile, as the villages now recovered, it was known now that the Akatsuki were a threat that needed to be dealt with. Madara needed to be dealt with once and for all. And with that, the Rangers were going to be going to a place that they were familiar with. They would be returning to the Land of Iron where their training began, along with their respective Kages, as now a 5 Kage summit was soon to be underway. This concludes Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Part 5. As always, if you're a fan of today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcasting that has to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video as we will continue Fire Force Lightspeed Rescue Part 5, based on the heroes of the Morphin Grid series. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.